So we do just have a few house rules before we get started here, just to make sure, we all have kind of the same groundwork going into the session today. There's no self-promotion or pitching of any kind. Please don't contact anyone outside of the user group without their consent. And then finally, if people are sharing, their use cases or things specific to their companies, please don't share that information without their consent. And then, like I mentioned, the mug is being recorded today. So if you have any questions about that, or you don't want to be on the recording, we definitely will share it afterwards. So you can feel free to drop, or you don't have to ask any questions or anything like that until we stop the recording at the end. So we will have kind of an open forum, after Kimi's presentation, where you can ask any other questions that you have. And then finally, I know we have some new people here today that found us, but if you are not connected with our mug chapter yet, you can go to this link, and I'll throw this in the chat here too, to sign up and join the North America mug, so you get updates on all of our future sessions. And then finally, I know it's top of everybody's mind, Adobe Summit is coming up this March in Las Vegas again. I'm so super exciting that it's coming back in person. There will be a virtual component as well if you're not able to make it in person, but there are some details here on the website about what's been announced so far. I think we have one more slide too, and just some, oops. It's wanting to take me to the website. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a different way. There we go. But yeah, there's reasons why you can use to justify your trip to Summit, if you need to make the case internally at your company, discover best practices, learn from experts, like other mug leaders and champions and all kinds of great Marketo leaders, and then many other reasons. So if you need a letter to convince your boss or to justify that to your company, there's a link here too. So I'll add these into the chat here too as we keep going. And then finally, we have some other upcoming opportunities for chapter members on December 8th. So just 1 week from today, some of the current Marketo champions are going to be doing a special office hours all about your career, career questions, concerns, your path, which actually fits in really good with Kimi's session today. We'll be talking about a lot of different MOPs roles. So it should be a great session too, if you want to check it out. And then there's a ton of December meetings coming up. It's the joy of going on December 1st and going first before everyone else. There's a lot of cool things happening. So if you're interested in checking that out, definitely take a look at the Bevy site too. And then there is a Better Together chapter as well. So if you are using other Experience Cloud platforms in addition to Marketo, definitely check that out as well as Bevy. And we'll put this link in the chat too. Lots of links today. Finally, always a plug for G2 Crowd. If you are interested in sharing more about your experience, you can receive a $25 gift card once your review is published. So we can share that out too. And then with it being end of the year, I know a lot of certification deadlines are coming up. You may have budget to spend on training and development stuff. There are a lot of details on this slide about renewing your Marketo Engage certification. So if you're interested in that, this slide has a lot of great links about the professional certification, the expert, and then the architect. So you can be sure to check that out as well. And with all of that, all of our housekeeping slides out of the way, we're super excited to welcome Kimi Corrigan here today. She's the Vice President of Marketing and Operations Strategy at Expel. She's going to share all of her wonderful knowledge and all of the things that she's learned, as a leader in marketing operations, the types of roles that she's discovered, being crucial to your team, and just all kinds of great details about her experience. So we're super happy to have you here, Kimi, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. There's a real blessing and a curse from having headshots of yourself that were professionally done. Because they look great. And then you hop on a meeting and people are like, wait, what? Is that the same person? So in lieu of that, hopefully you're seeing my dogs right now. Great. So these are my dogs. I thought instead of another headshot of me and an introduction, these are my dogs. So thanks for having me today. I haven't been to a mug in a long time. I used to run the Cleveland, or I guess even it was called the Ohio mug a long time ago, because we only had enough customers in the whole state to warrant Marketo user group And I haven't attended the virtual meetings in a long time. So it's great to be here. And yeah, I want to talk a little bit today about my experience. I'm open to all questions, topics, but I am going to get us into it by talking about roles. I am a team lead. I serve the marketing ops and strategy team here at Expel, and I've built a really amazing team and have come in with this plan and have executed it throughout the year. So I have thoughts and feelings on MOPs roles, strategy roles, what that team looks and feels like, in what order I would hire those roles or am hiring those roles, which isn't the same for everyone. So I would love to share some of that today with everybody. Some new roles I'm thinking about developing on my team in the coming fiscal year, how much money I think these roles should pay in a competitive environment that has changed a lot over the year. It's shot up, it's evened out. Now it's a much different job market than it was even a year ago, as we all know. So it's kind of a fluctuating scale there, but happy to share that from what I've seen at the different organizations and in the market I'm in, at least. So I'm going to try to pull the chat up on my other screen as well, just in case, because I would love some interaction throughout this. I see most people are camera off, which is fine, but I am curious. A lot of the slides I'll be sharing are content I already shared at MOPSCon this year, because I was lucky enough to do a presentation there about this topic. So if anyone was at MOPSCon and already saw this presentation or the version of it there, if you would let me know in the chat, that way I know how many people may be hearing this for the second time, so I can cater my messaging a bit. So if you were at MOPSCon and saw my presentation about the dream team, if you could let me know or let everyone know in the chat, that would be great. And yes, these are my dogs, Stout and Griffin, and they are right outside my door. I can hear them breathing very heavily right now. Okay, great. JD, you were there. Natalie, you were there. Okay, great. Okay, so before we get into what I think about roles, I am curious in the chat, or if you are interested in coming off mute, what is your current role? What roles have you had in marketing ops or just in marketing, or I guess in any way? Do you have questions about MOPs roles that I should be thinking about as we go through this? So those are my first two questions. So if you want to pop off the mute or put it in the chat, like, what's your current role? I assume you work in MOPs if you're at this meeting, but I'm curious what people's roles are who are here. I started off as a marketing coordinator about 1 billion years ago and kind of just ended up here, as many of us did.
Yeah, I started in sales and marketing coordination and then found my way into event planning, which I found is a very weird career path that people take to get into MOPs.
Yeah.
Same types of, soft skill set.
Yeah, totally. Okay.
I'm just a manager of demand gen marketing ops. Jeez.
I love the way you said, I'm just a manager of demand.
Just a manager, senior manager. Yeah.
So you're in it. You're in it with all of us. Just a manager of this.
I call myself a player coach.
Yeah. I think most of us stay in that role. I have a team of 8 folks, and I'm in what I consider a senior role in my experience, and I am still looking at activity logs all day. So definitely player coach, I think, sticks with all of us for a long time. I don't know if anyone fully gets out of the weeds here. Okay, great. Well, thanks for those of you that shared. Another question, I was having a catch up with a peer of ours this morning about her current role and kind of the challenges she's been facing as far as resources. Does anyone feel adequately resourced these days on their MOPs team? I feel very lucky that I have a team as large as I do. Still feels like there's not enough people to handle all the work being asked of us, but I know that most teams are much smaller. So does anyone feel adequately resourced in MOPs these days? I'm going to assume silence is a no.
I was going to say, I feel adequately resourced in headcount.
Okay.
But it does not translate into scale of work that many people should be able to do.
Yeah,
So I'm
I
like,
feel that.
I'm inadequately resourced in experience, I think is what I'm finding.
Okay.
And that,
Yeah, I relate to that. Carolyn says no, team of one. Carolyn, I'm sorry. There's so many teams of one out there. And I feel crazy when I talk to people about this, and it's 2022 and there are still MOPs teams of one. And it's like, you guys, what are we doing here? What are you doing to these people?
I went from 1 to 5 in a year. So there's hope.
There
for you,
is hope.
Carolyn.
I love that. Yeah. Awesome. Alex says no, never. Okay. I feel that too. Okay, great. And then my last question before we dive in. So the market has changed rapidly this year. I was doing my job search for my current role exactly 1 year ago today. Like I was in the thick of talking to folks, trying to figure out what was next for me. And it was one of those environments where I was just like turning down calls right and left. There was such a desperation for hiring as well as technical MOPs type people. I feel like the market has obviously rapidly changed. We see it every day when we log into LinkedIn, and it's heartbreaking. What big swings have any of you felt with your MOPS teams this year? Has it been, oh, I lost a few head count that I wanted to hire, they kind of, clawed that back, or have people remained committed to sort of what the MOPS team growth was at the beginning of the year? Anyone?
I think one of the interesting trends I've seen is the kind of entry level MOPS roles have changed, and what we look for is to kind of adapt to that. So whereas, a lot of us who've come up in it the last 5, 6, 7 years, like it was different, like there was different paths into it. And now like teaching the next generation, which is like really exciting, but it's also not a problem we've had to solve for before.
It is. That could be a whole different user group topic, I think, and would be great. I brought on, we wanted to hire a junior campaign ops person this year. And it was like, we really don't want someone with no experience, just because we were under a real time crunch to offboard some consulting and things like that. But I'm hoping to bring another role onto my team next year as just a platform campaign ops generalist, junior level. Like literally we can bring someone with no experience that has just the right, mindset and interest. It sounds good right now on paper, but I have a feeling when it comes to opening that rec, it's going to be really hard for me not to put like 1+ years, Marketo experience or, whatever we need. But it will take all of us to commit to bringing more people into the fold, because I think we've already seen how we've ended up in a talent shortage over the past couple of years in our space. And we really all have to commit to bringing people into the loop. And it's tough when you're in the moment though, when you want to I just want someone who can log in and do some things,
I think it's scaled back a lot too. I feel like a lot of roles that I'm seeing now, they're asking you literally to like boil the ocean. So like on my team now, being a team of one, it's like they want you to do email and they want you to sometimes administer Salesforce, but you also have to troubleshoot and you also have to integrate all these other platforms. So be an admin for Sixth Sense and Visible. And I feel like it's gone a little crazy in terms of the expectations that people have on the ops side.
Yeah, I almost feel like we're coming full circle. I feel like that used to be the expectation. And then we finally got support of like, no, this takes a team of people. And then obviously with macroeconomic conditions, people are kind of clawing that back and being like, do it all and keep this job. And we have to be a tight ship. But yeah, I see that too. And when I joined my current company last January, there was one marketing ops person, and she was that team of one person doing everything at a certain scale. And she actually left earlier in the year to go on a maternity leave and was gone for 6 months. And she knew we were making a lot of changes and the team was growing while she was out. And then she came back and she was like, oh, okay. Like, this is what an entire team of people can do with the same tech stack and the same, charter of things to do. But when you have enough people to do it right and do it well and scale it, it's such a different motion. So I hope more people can get that experience as well. Okay, I've asked you guys a lot of questions. Thank you, everyone. Please keep your comments coming. I have a lot of slides to go through, so we'll skip through some of them quickly. We can dive into some of them. So what's my dream team? When I came to Expel last year, I was very committed to, this is the role I want for myself, but this is the kind of team I want to build and why. And luckily I've been able to do that so far this year. So what I'm walking you through is kind of my vision as I saw it then and as it's being executed now. But it's not going to be the same for everyone. Obviously, not everyone can get, 11 people on a team at some point, depending on the size of your company. But based on what I know, this is what I've been working through. So this is kind of my MOP stream team. It's not a straightforward top-down, bottoms-up build. It's really kind of all over the map for me, depending on your business. So for me, the very first hire, as you can see, is it's marked as platform ops senior. What that role actually is in reality, when it's one person, is a marketing ops manager or whatever flavor of title. It's a generalist that's doing everything. But my idea there is it translates into a platform ops role. So we'll dig into that. So you'll see from there to campaign ops. Obviously, data analyst is a role that a lot of us are fond of having, a leader, and then kind of building out the team from there. Like there's some really foundational roles I think are important, but if you can hire more and you're capable of more, this is the order in which I'd hire them. So we're going to go through kind of each of these one by one. These slides are a little text heavy. They're a great takeaway item, not great to present always. So please jump in with commentary or questions throughout so we don't have to just stare at my slides. So like I said, first hire is obviously just like a marketing ops generalist. Not many organizations I've seen have their first hire for ops saying like, we were looking for a platform ops manager. Like, nope, you have to come in and do everything. But once this person is in and they are able to build a team, I would translate this role very quickly, most of the time, to a platform ops manager. Maybe the person actually was like, no, I love campaign ops. I want to get rid of the tech stack ownership. That could totally happen. In my experience, most people who are the one person shop end up like moving towards platform ops because they know everything that's going on in the system and the tech stack. If I was talking to a startup person I knew and they were like, hey, we're building a new MOPs team or a new marketing team, what kind of role should I hire? Of course, there probably is going to just be like a, general marketing leader, a product marketer, depending what kind of business you're in. But like, I would tell them immediately, like, hire a MOPs person as soon as possible. Like, I have been at several startups, which has been really an adventure, but I have inherited tech stacks that were set up by people that had zero business in doing so, or people that set up Marketo that had no skill set to do so, or tried to integrate it and they exposed every field in Salesforce to the marketing automation system. And, it's just like, what could businesses do if they just invested in operations earlier? And I know that's probably really tricky for people to prioritize, but I would tell people over and over again, like, hire a MOPs person, first 3 marketing hires. I know you feel like you need something else, but trust me on this. And I think it's really important. That way they can build those more advanced operational programs to start so that you don't have to rebuild your life cycle 9 months in, 18 months in, 2 years in. Like, if you can hire someone to do it pretty well the first time, you're going to get a little more mileage out of all of those initial operational workings. And when I'm looking for like who to hire or who I suggest people hire is someone that's done it before, someone who's done it for, maybe 5+ years. And that is a little fluid depending on people's experience, and someone that has marketing automation and CRM experience. So I am assuming a lot of people on this call have been in this role, are in this role. I hope you're not still a team of one. I know, Carolyn, you said you are. But this is sort of role number 1. We have to start somewhere, and it's got to be just that foundational place. So any thoughts, comments? Has anyone ever joined a marketing ops team and this wasn't the first and only person? Okay.
I've seen them start with the specialist level, which is always
Well, that's true. Yeah. Like, if you're going to hire one person, at least give them the marketing ops manager title. Like, what are you doing here? Yeah, totally seen that too. And that's probably where that was my first marketing ops. Actually, it wasn't even a marketing operations because I predate that term. It was marketing automation specialist.
Me too. Yes.
Yeah.
We've come somewhere.
Yeah, it's got to come from somewhere. I come from the world of Silverpop. So if anyone is old enough to be a Silverpop user, bless you. Me too. Okay. So the next role, if you are ever, lucky enough to get another one on the team, is, in my experience, a mid or junior level campaign ops person. Like if you're a one-person show, probably one of the first things you want to offload is actually executing day-to-day requests in Marketo. Even though you can probably do it in your sleep, it's a very reactive motion. It takes you out of the deep work of process and program building, and you have to be responsive pretty quickly most of the time. So I think that's a great second role to bring on, and bringing on someone more on the junior side who can really just be that really high velocity machine of like getting requests done and getting things out the door, and so that you can focus on more of the platform ops side of things. So this is a good time to start shifting your focus there if that's where your interest lies. And I would say the best time to hire this person is as soon as someone will let you. It will really start to enable your team to be more proactive versus reactive. This role is very reactive, but if you hire the right person at the right time, they start setting up processes that make this very repeatable and scalable, so that they aren't spending 40 hours a week building emails and doing list imports. That's part of their day every day, but then they can start diving into deeper strategy around how campaign ops should be running and how to integrate that into the bigger processes in Marketo or HubSpot or Eloqua or whatever your system of choice is. I would look for someone, again, junior level experience. If you can afford to hire someone with no experience from a timing perspective, do it. If we can all commit to bringing more people into this world, that's great. A lot of times we feel like we don't have that time, as we discussed earlier. And I really would encourage whoever is bringing this person on, like encourage them not to just be really good at fulfilling requests in the campaign ops world, but actually like owning the strategy around execution from like start to finish, from how people submit a request and get it to you, to what your QA process is, to how can you build scalable programs where you don't have to build a program every time you're importing a list. You have a standing program that does all of that processing for you. So like someone can really come in and own campaign ops from a very strategic level, because this person is so important. I know it's like we're hiring a junior person and they're taking requests and they're kind of this order taker in some people's eyes, but there's so much value to be gained by someone coming in and truly leaning into this function. I'm not a campaign ops person. That was always the first thing I wanted to get off my plate in any of my roles, but some people really love it. And there's a massive difference I see in the abilities of people who are like, oh no, this is truly a strategic function. I've been lucky to have that team with me at Expel who have shown me like campaign ops is like can be wildly strategic and really make a whole marketing team function well. So shout out to everyone who loves campaign ops. You make all of us better. Any campaign ops owners in the meeting? Yeah. Well, yeah, Natalie. Near and dear to your heart.
There's few of us, but the ones who love it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think a lot of people assume what my current team has really showed me is not everyone wants to be in platform ops. And what I've been able to do is understand the strategy around campaign ops, and like that role can be just as senior, if not more senior than platform ops team. Like they are both equally important as far as the strategy and technical abilities required. Carolyn said, oh, okay, prefer backend all day, every day. Same, like leave me an activity log and I'll see you in 8 hours. Ask me to build a new program in Marketo from a template. Oh, thank you. Please no. Okay. Okay. So role 3 coming in hot. My favorite, data analyst. I'm hiring this role right now. I should have an offer out next week. I can't wait to get this role filled. Data analyst is a great role. It takes that pressure off of both platform and campaign ops to try to moonlight as a data analyst, although data is still very important to all roles in MOPs. I think this is a great person. If it's a startup world, bring them in sooner than you plan. I know I keep saying that. But like after demand gen or the growth team has programs in market, if you're in the startup world, like the sooner you can get a data analyst in to start slicing and dicing that data in actual actionable ways, the better off that team will start functioning very quickly. And, I see this day to day. There's, owning reports and dashboards and all of that stuff, but also getting them integrated early into the sales and marketing go-to-market motion and partnering with sales ops and sales analysts and the go-to-market team as quickly as possible, the better. Like, we need to be singing from the same songbook. Putting together board slides when we're using one data set and sales is using another is a nightmare every 3 months. And it's just a world that you can escape from if you bring an analyst in early who truly aligns on what the raw data sets are and how we're using them. So yeah, I love this role.
Do you have any experience when that is a shared role with BI?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have any experience where that analyst is a shared role with the BI team?
I don't, but I have experience where they've tried to pull analysts into the BI team and taken it out of both marketing and sales and saying, we're going to have a centralized data analysis. And I fought that. And I haven't had to do that yet. I imagine that, and I have fought it because I imagine that would really pull my resource away. Like, I want someone truly immersed, not only in our life cycle and our funnel data, but I want them to understand the ins and outs of visible and all of our attribution data. I want them to be in all of the demand gen meetings as far as like weekly program performance, presenting to our executive team as regularly as needed. I just feel like a shared resource there. It becomes more of that, help me do this one thing versus proactively seeking out opportunities in the data and bringing them back to the team.
From my experience, you're 100% right.
Okay, well, I'm glad I have fought it off thus far. I hope I don't have to do that in the future. I do think it's just so important to have a dedicated marketing analyst. And they sit on the MOPs team, but they work with every other function in marketing as much, if not more, than the people on their own team. Okay, so after a data analyst, leadership, and this role can kind of fit in anywhere at this point, your platform ops first hire person is probably the leader of the team generally. So maybe it's time for them to move into a more set leadership role and backfill their role, or maybe it's bringing in a net new person. That was my experience. I came in as a net new leader and inherited an analyst and a marketing ops manager. So it really just depends on the people on the team. And this role is more, in my mind, of like your company is trying to go from X ARR to double ARR. Like they're trying to make that next big step. And again, I know I'm sharing a lot of startup culture moments, but that's my experience. Like when we're trying to make that move from scrappy to synchronized, when we're trying to take that big double, triple, or whatever it is, we're trying to get IPO ready. We really need to lock in the systems and scale of everything, like bringing in a dedicated leader that has the experience of running a marketing ops and strategy team. I think this is the right time to do it, because this is where I see it turning from a marketing ops team to a marketing ops and strategy team. And that's where you start grabbing things like forecasting, fiscal planning, budgeting. Like that's when all of those things start to fall under that ops and strategy umbrella versus what we think of as just traditional marketing ops. So again, this person owns all of the traditional things and then owns all of the new strategy things, all of the operational efficiencies of the entire marketing team. I'm the person in this role here, and I am meeting with my partners on the sales side more than most people on my team I meet with. So this is kind of that truly gelling together the go-to-market function for me. And it could be someone that, again, moving up from platform ops, they've been doing that and they're ready to take over the full breadth of this, or it could be someone coming in that I do think needs marketing ops experience. I think having that person that understands what everyone's going through is important. But mostly they need to be a connector and a problem solver, because that's what I do all day. And I think we're going to see this more and more. I think over the last couple of years, I've seen more VP of marketing ops than I've ever seen before. And I think going forward, we'll see that more and more and more. Okay, moving on to the next role. This is one of my favorite roles. Again, I keep saying that, strategic project manager. I have had this on multiple teams that I've ran, and I remember the first time we were looking to hire a project manager, the demand gen leader and I were like, we feel like we need a project manager, but do we? Everyone in marketing ops generally is really good at managing everything. It's just like inherent in who we are, because that's what we do, is manage process. So of course we could manage our own work. Of course we're good at being organized. But once I had that role in my team, it just like sort of unlocked the potential for all of the people on the marketing ops team, because yes, they're really good at managing their own stuff, but when they're not actually having to chase things down and connect people, it kept them super focused on what they are so good at in doing their work. So we have a project manager here. She does a little bit of traditional project management. That's probably not the best title for her. She only project manages really big things, like you think product launches or huge implementations of cross-functional marketing tools. And what this role is really going to turn into for me is like marketing enablement. Like she's just kind of the glue that holds us together. She helps us with documentation. She helps us get the whole team trained on something. She manages our project management software from a strategic perspective. So this role can be really flexible, and it feels like a really nice to have. But once you have it, it feels just like integral in the way that people get their work done. So this is a role I've hired a few times, never regretted it. It's made the whole team more effective. Does anyone else? I know Tumos has project management as a role because I've worked with some of them before. Does anyone else have project manager on their team or as a resource to them?
I am that person on our team.
Yeah.
So sort of unique in that I asked for a strategic project manager on my MOPs team of 5. So was told that, you know, we understand the need, but it's very hard to ask for a non-directly revenue generating role with our larger organization.
Yeah.
So I moved into a strategic PMO role, which actually project managed for the entire marketing team. So now I oversee projects also in Dimension and also in product marketing and things like that. So this was an interesting way to play this, I guess, because
yeah,
I also
love that.
PM.
Yeah, and that's sort of how like my project manager is. She sits on the marketing ops and strategy team on the strategy side. But again, like she's like many people in MOPs and strategy, we work with everyone else more than we work with each other. Like as far as like helping other people, like I like to think of my team as like the island of misfit toys. Like we are sort of this neutral party of making people better at their jobs or making their work easier and better and more scalable. So we're constantly like plugging into every other team, like demand gen and product marketing and corporate marketing and with sales and sales ops. Yeah. So I feel like that totally makes sense. The number of requests for problem solving or processes that come in from other teams that is not marketing is wild. Yes. I take it with like a badge of honor of like, oh, we're so good at this. But it's also like, why don't you guys get good at it? Awesome. Okay. Let me crank through a few more of these. I know these slides are a little boring. This one we won't spend a ton of time on, but this is where if you're ever so lucky to get to role 6, man, having 2 platform ops people on the team is wonderful. For a lot of just really tactical reasons. We have a pretty big tech stack, as does everyone these days. Like no one has like 3 tools in their stack these days. Everyone's got like 6, 8, 12 plus. That's a lot of tools for a platform ops person to really focus on, which again, that goes back to just resources. Like the more platform ops resources I have, the more effective we can make these tools and how we're using them and get more value out of them. And the ROI is better. Like I feel like hiring additional platform ops people pays for itself pretty quickly when you're actually utilizing tools to their full capability. So I'm lucky enough to have 2 platform ops managers on my team. And the effectiveness of that is amazing from a bandwidth perspective. It also allows platform ops people to go on PTO without worrying about what kind of fire drill is going to haunt them. That's very tactical and good for people's mental health. And I just think it makes us much more synchronized across all of the teams. And the way we do that is both of our platform ops managers have access, administration abilities, skills with every tool in the tech stack. And then we sort of take a primary, secondary ownership role. So every tool has a primary owner and the secondary owner, and we try to split that pretty evenly based on how much time each tool takes up, what their preferences are, and what their abilities are. And that has worked out well for us thus far. Platform ops is everybody in marketing ops's responsibility, but having two really strong owners and admins of each system is wonderful. So again, I know it's a nice to have, and not everyone is able to do this, but as your company really starts scaling up, I think it's important to have a backup. I adore both of my platform ops people, and I really hope one day one of them says, hey, I won the lottery, I'm not coming to work tomorrow. And when that happens, at least I have one person left that can help us get the tech stack, keep it moving until we can backfill the other person. So I think having two owners here is excellent. Okay, moving on to the next role. Same with campaign ops. You've probably had that single campaign ops person in seat for a while now. By the time you're able to hire this role, it could have been, years ago. That person's probably ready for more responsibility or has already taken it on themselves, and probably a good time to either promote them and backfill them, or if this came really quickly and that person's not the right fit, bringing in a senior campaign ops person. And like I said, I think this role really takes campaign ops to the next level from a strategy standpoint. And again, similar to campaign ops or platform ops, it's great to have two people. My senior campaign ops manager is on a 2-week PTO right now, or week and a half, and our junior campaign ops person is keeping everything chugging along while that person's out, and hopefully they are not even thinking about this and vice versa. So luckily almost everyone else on the marketing ops team can pitch in. I can send an email still, please don't ask me to do it, but it would probably take me 4 times as long to build and QA and send an email program at this point in my career, but I can still do it. But having 2 full-time people here is amazing. Okay, Alicia says you had a senior campaign ops before anyone in platform ops. That is interesting. And really, that's really interesting. I know it's all about the right people at the right time. That's really cool. I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think the way it happened was that we have a CMO that's coming from a product marketing background. Mm-hmm. And so the first marketing hire he had was a Dimension lead. So from a Dimension lead perspective, they were very much thinking about the channels and externalizing of the content. And they didn't have as good of a grasp on what needs to happen on the back end and our platform. Yeah. We had a 10-year-old Marketo instance, and I think everyone just sort of admit that it's a limiting factor, but no one quite knew what to do with it. Right. And we were only able to transition to a robust platform and back-end organization when we had a contractor come in and led marketing ops for about 2 years before she brought in someone full-time.
Oh, wow.
So I was the person that was brought in full-time, and I had the joy of dissecting everything that was done in Marketo without a lot of guidance from anyone in the leadership level. But yeah, sometimes I guess it's just a matter of who is the available resource, personal connections as a leader's building up a new team.
Yeah. I've had the pleasure of both inheriting instances many times, as well as starting an instance from scratch. Does anyone have a preference on which of those they prefer if you've done both? I actually prefer to inherit a Marketo instance at this point, which I never thought I would say.
It depends how old the instance is.
Yeah, it depends on who was in that role, right? Who were they and what did they do?
Mine right now is I think 10, I've been here 4 years. It's at least 10, 12 years old now.
Wow.
And has had 4 admins and 3 consultants.
Woo!
I would much rather start over.
Yeah, it totally depends on the situation. Yeah, I agree with you, Alicia. I like inheriting an instance that's a couple of years old that maybe has only had 1 owner or maybe 2 people. So the business requirements are defined. My current experience has been interesting. I inherited, or my team and I, we had an instance that was several years old, but one of the reasons I was brought here, as well as some other folks, is to completely change the way everything was done. So that was tricky. It was nice to inherit an instance because like the lights were on, right? Like we had time to change things and build it, and we didn't activate things. But then once we did, it was like we couldn't stop stumbling into things that were breaking all the new stuff we had built. So it's always an adventure. Yeah. Yeah, only one owner and low mileage. I agree, JD. That's like the perfect instance to bring in. It's like, I don't have to set up like all of the stuff with IT to like make sure our emails go out. Like, I don't want to do that stuff, but I don't want to like have to understand every operational workflow that's in there. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I need to be cognizant of the time. I am dragging on, aren't I? Okay. Data strategist. This is a little different than the data analyst role. This is a great role for me. This is where my analyst and strategist overlap a little. The strategist obviously leans heavier on the strategy side. The analyst heavier on the, reports, dashboards, initial analysis side. The strategist really takes it to the next level. They're doing a lot of proactive investigation into the data and then saying, how can we do this better? Hey, demand gen, I was double clicking on a bunch of data and I found this like leak in something, and I'm going to bring that to you with a suggestion on what we should do. So the strategist has probably started in a career of being an analyst, is really familiar with the go-to-market function, and is ready to sort of take things to the next level. So this is a great role. Love this role. And then eventually, at this point, if we followed the plan, we'd have 8 people total on the team. We'd have 4 people on the marketing ops side with platform and campaign ops, and they're probably ready for a director, someone that truly understands both the platform and the campaign ops side of things, can give those people a stronger leader, because the leader such as me right now is doing like a billion different things that I can't give that side of the team as much detailed and focused attention as I would like. So I do think eventually giving that opportunity to someone to kind of really hone those 2 functions together is a great opportunity. Enablement manager. This is something I mentioned earlier about our project manager. This is where her role has been trending naturally. Now that we have project management kind of just functioning and operational, we have templates set up and ClickUp on how our team functions and works together. She's spending more and more of her time enabling people on marketing practices, enabling people on training. We're about to start rolling out Seismic, so she's going to be the person that really owns that from both a project and an implementation standpoint, as well as a strategy around how are we putting things in there? How are we storing them? How are we tagging them? What's the process like? So this is a new role to me that I'm developing. You see sales enablement roles all the time. I don't see a lot of people that are marketing enablement managers, and I think that's a real miss for us that we don't have that role. So I want one. Okay. And then director of marketing strategy, similar to the director of marketing ops. This is just that kind of counterpoint on the strategy side of the team where, enablement, project management, data and analytics, someone that really understands the operational efficiencies of go-to-market and how the team works. This role, I feel less clear about what this role means exactly, but it's because I haven't hired it yet. And I look forward to figuring out this role in the future. So that's all the roles. I know that was a lot. This is the order again in which I'd hire them. And more importantly, these are the salary ranges, depending on what your industry is, depending on your experience, depending on about a billion other factors. I think these are very competitive rates, but I have seen more than one. I've seen many people land salaries in these ranges. So it's out there. Again, all the caveats. I work in cybersecurity. That tends to be on the higher end of things. So that's my experience, but I think these roles are reasonable. And I think if you're not anywhere near these ranges in your role, I'd be happy to chat with you about like, what are you actually doing day to day? What's your team look like? How can we get you to start getting to that place? So I'm all about getting people paid for this work because I know how important and hard it is. So I'm happy to be a resource for you there. And I think, oh, nope, I have one more slide, which is just my picture of my dogs, basically. Reach out to me. I want to talk more about this stuff. I love developing teams and roles and helping people get to the next level of their career. You can find me in these places. I will make sure to send Jackie and Natalie this slide deck, as well as I have an additional resource that's just a Google Doc that has every single one of these roles with the requirements for each one of them. If you're going to build a job description, a starting point, it obviously will depend on your team and what you guys are looking for, but it's at least a starting point of what these roles should look like from a requirement standpoint if you're trying to build a job description. And I think that's it for my slides. I'm sorry, I dragged down a little bit there.
No, you're great. This is awesome. Well, yeah, we can definitely use the last 10 minutes to open it up to any questions anyone has for Kimi. If you want to put them in the chat or go ahead and go off of mute, I will stop recording.